Hello and welcome to Questlog. I'm your host, Helene Hannon, and with me today are special guests. Fine, you can go first.
I'm also a host. Apparently Helene thinks that she's the only host.
And you and I are the special guests.
And my special guests here today are Dr.
All right.
Joseph Lee.
Yep.
And
I'm
specialer guest, Father Tim Hannon.
Ooh, more special. Well, thank you. Yes, I am the Reverend Tim Hannon, Father Tim Hannon. Either is fine. I just want to say I'm delighted to be a guest on this podcast that I've been on every episode of, along with Helene, but
Welcome. And, if you do a good job, then I'll ask you back.
that's good. Okay, I'm glad I understand the status quo. I thought I was a co-host, but it's good that I see where things really stand in the pecking order and stuff. The pecking order, right. I'll try to up my game so I keep getting invited back. Speaking of games.
Oh, good. Nice.
How's that
Good
for
point.
a segue? I hear you two have been playing a game you're really excited about and have really enjoyed that you finished recently. And
Yes.
yes, we're playing Clair Obscur, or we were playing Clair Obscur. Or it's hard to know how to refer to it. It's Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Is Clair Obscur going to be like a series title or no? So
I hope so.
I know, right?
That would be cool.
Yeah. So it's just there's a lot of mood in it, and we'll talk about it today.
It's going to today.
But there's a lot of mood, there's a lot of atmosphere, and the game is just simply super fun to play.
And the music is amazing. You can buy the original soundtrack for really cheap, and there's like 100, 200 songs or whatever.
Yeah.
It's absurd. It's so good.
Yeah, our 10-year-old is into a few of the songs, and she has a little, music player that she puts all the songs on and listens to it. And oh, lovely. Top of our lungs, that sweetheart.
Which is fun. Just a lot of the songs are in French. So, it's educational.
That's right. Also, right. It has a dual purpose. That's great. Well, and I'm glad you guys are going to say some more things about it today, because you've sent me images and you showed me the trailer and it looks gorgeous and amazing and fascinating. I, meanwhile, have continued my forays into RPGs. As listeners know, I have just begun to enter the world of RPGs thanks to your influence, the two of you, and my two RPG experiences right now are at different ends of a spectrum. One is Pokemon, a Pokemon game that my kids are into and that I play along with them. And the other end of the extreme is Dragon Warrior, 1980, what is that? 6, 7, 8, something like that. One of the original RPG video games. And it's funny because the one that I play with my kids, the Pokemon one, is extremely forgiving and so easy to do everything you want to do, to collect items, get money. Dragon Warrior is a very unforgiving game where it's like, I have no idea what to do sometimes. Go on the internet, find out what I should do. But one of the things I found interesting as a newcomer to RPGs is that what I find myself often longing for when that mood comes on you, and you just feel like looking forward to some downtime with the video game, that what I really look forward to is grinding sometimes. And I would not have thought this. What I would have thought, the idea I had about RPGs growing up, not having your positive influence in my life, was that, there's not enough like story and action. You're going to spend all this time doing these battles over and over again so that you can level up. But what I actually find is that there's this kind of, contrary to my expectations, this sort of peace and calm involved in sometimes it's very intense if you're fighting something that is difficult, but a lot of it is fairly straightforward. There's this pleasing sense of getting even a little bit of HP or XP, but also you just sort of fall into this rhythm and this routine. So that's my update on my progress entering for the first time at age 43 RPGs, is being surprised at how peaceful and calm and relaxing I find grinding rather than a chore.
Right.
Even taking a step back from the story and just grinding. I wasn't expecting that.
That makes me think of two things. First of all, is that you had to throw it in my face that now you're older than me.
Yes, it was right. If we'd recorded this just a week ago, I would have been saying that I was still 42, but now I have surpassed you. In November, you will catch up with me. Yeah, around 43. I'll let you know what it's like being 43 as opposed to 42.
So I guess the youngest of us is the host, because Helene's
That's
the
right.
youngest of us, because she'll be 42 for
Right. I don't know how I'm
As
the oldest.
youngest, I'm naturally more tech savvy, so That means I get to talk first because Adam is actually our tech. Never mind.
That's your argument is falling apart, Helene. Clearly, I should be at the top of the pecking order. I'm the oldest. Well, what else does this calm and peace of grinding make you think of?
There's, I remember being down in our basement, and the basement was set up for like now my parents' basement is all, woodworking machines that my dad uses to build furniture, but it was once like the playroom, and we had this old couch that we had used in the den in the family room, and we would just sit as close to the TV as we could so that the controllers would reach, and we would just grind and grind and grind. And we were playing Phantasy Star 2, I remember, pretty early. And
That's a Sega game?
Yeah, that's a Sega Genesis game. And it's because we had more Sega Genesis games than SNES games. And that's also a really moody game, especially when you get to the second planet.
Should be next to my list of retro RPGs too.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
Oh, they're really great.
It's a good one.
But it's all grinding basically. The entire game is grinding. It's like Dragon Warrior. And the first couple of Dragon Quests. Like there's cool things that happen, but I mean, really you're going out and grinding enough money for or meseta as it's called. And there were just some places where, and Helene, I'm sorry, my sister Katie and I, sorry.
It's okay.
Katie and I were just like grinding so much, and we didn't know how to grind. We would just like kind of walk into a place and go too far, and then our character would die, and we'd end up with a game over screen. And we'd be like, "Oh my gosh, how do you do it? How do you beat this level?" And we kept on bashing our heads up against the wall. But then
Me.
my love,
Yes.
you and your siblings ground.
We called it level gaining at the time.
Yeah,
we didn't call it grinding when we were children.
That's very interesting.
We were gaining levels, and so
Level
Secret of
gain.
Mana was, so I played Dragon Warrior, but I also played, when Secret of Mana came out, and Final Fantasy when it was 3 at the time.
Yeah. But you would stay at
I would-
in, right?
Oh yeah. So Secret of Mana was great because I liked Secret of Mana was a cool game for the Super Nintendo. And if you had an extra port, then you could play with 3 players and there were 3 main characters. Or you could have one person controlling each of the characters at the same time, but it was an active time.
Yeah, it's kind of active time battle.
Yeah, so I mean, like, you're not just taking turns. Everyone's playing and doing different things at the same time, so pressing all the buttons and stuff. So I would often play with my siblings. And, so my brother would play the fighter and I would play the I guess, white mage, the girl.
Yeah.
And my sister would play the little sprite who has most of the attack magic. But to level gain, the girl was the easiest because you just stay at the inn and you just keep spamming these spells again and again and again. And then you stay at the inn again and then you just spam the spells till you're out of magic points. And you stay. But if you stayed at the inn, see, now this is, you tap into a vein.
Yeah.
So if you're in a town, you gain fewer magic XP, I guess is what it is, than if you're out in a field with enemies on the screen. So it would be more work and you're using more money and it would take more time, but it was a safer way to do it. But it only worked for the girl. You couldn't do it for the sprite, and the boy doesn't have magic, so it was anyway.
So what did you favor?
Satisfying.
What method did you favor?
Oh, just staying at the inn and have my penniless sister watch me cast Remedy again and again because that only cost 1 MP.
And we would watch each other doing this. My sister would sit there and watch me, and we had a thing with Phantasy Star 2 because your characters would be. See, we're not even getting to the top.
No, I know.
That's okay.
No.
But
We could tie this in.
Yeah,
I got it.
She's got it.
It's on
the
like
hooks.
a grid, so you would have the 4 characters go around in a circle, and we would switch their order, and then you'd have to guess who was in front. It's completely impossible to figure out who's in front, but you would. Loved it. We thought it was wonderful, and
Yes.
just would watch each other grind.
Yeah, and numbers go up, and it's so satisfying.
I'm surprised that my kids enjoy watching me grind. They watch whether it's the Pokemon game or whether it's Dragon Warrior. They
Right. I mean, like, so our generation, we watched, the not even just the Weather Channel, like the TV Guide channel when we were teenagers.
That's right. The TV Guide channel, right. Right. That's very relaxing. It was very relaxing.
Yeah, like a new hour has begun.
Right. Ooh, right.
Content doesn't always have to be, super engaging to be.
And that's why,
interesting.
My friends down in seminary were all Western gamers, Western RPG gamers. And they hated turn-based battle systems. And the wonderful thing about Clair Obscur is that it's a turn-based battle system that everyone's raving about it. Well, I mean, it works because it's really quick and it's really fast. And they have these kind of like active time moments where you have to block or dodge at certain moments or jump. So that kind of makes it a little bit more palatable for people who don't like turn-based battle systems. But
turn-based, can you tell us explain the terminology to me?
Oh, sure. So usually what happens in a turn-based is you hit someone on the screen or you have a random encounter and a menu pops up and it says fight, item, magic, run.
Right.
Something like that. Right. In Clair Obscur, it's a lot more complicated. You can shoot a projectile or throw a projectile. You can use some of your spells. You can attack. You can do a variety of things.
Okay. So the turn-based, that's just all RPGs. That's just describing.
No.
There's a distinction. All right.
There's a big distinction. So then the game Helene was talking about, Secret of Mana, that's not a turn-based system. It looks like an action game, but it has a level system built onto it.
Okay.
So it plays more like a Zelda game.
I see.
With levels.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So it's not, that's what you were referring to as like in unfolding kind of in real time.
Right.
I see. Okay. I see. All right. So people who you were saying into the Western RPGs, they didn't like the turn-based system.
Yeah.
Clair Obscur, this new game that people are raving about, it's got a kind of innovative system, right? It's turn-based, but a little more rapid fire.
Yeah. So my friends in seminary would always say like, okay, so what do you like about these games? Why do you like them? Because aren't they just a lesser, like older system that just hasn't evolved or grown?
Yeah, right. Which was where I would have been, assuming like, surely this is kind of boring, right?
Yeah, but
right.
For me,
and yet
you have time to think. You have time to plan your strategy. You have time to consider which best item to use or best equipment to use. But also when you choose attack and the character runs up to the monster and swings his sword and runs back to his place in battle, you have some time to drink in the game. You have some time to drink in the atmosphere, the characters, to continue the story in your head about what they're doing, as opposed to always being in a situation where you're kind of, they're like called Twitch games, like Mega Man. You're always trying to jump around things and slide under things and whatnot. And if you're always, in the mode, you never have that time to sit back. And I feel it's my opinion, that you don't have that time that's spread out, that's given that expansive space to let things kind of catch up with the game.
Yeah, right. And I like that description of sort of soaking in the atmosphere. So this is quite cool because I feel like in our time, there have become more and more cultural commentators, cultural critics, people observing, the times around us, the rise of constant bombardment of entertainment and that kind of, I find it extremely annoying, but it's of the times that you can't watch something on YouTube without it giving you multiple recommendations. Like, as in like the video ends and that's if you have the automatic thing turned off where it will just start playing a new video for you. But even if you turn it off, it pops up a couple of recommendations on a little window. When the video's done, you close that window and then it pops up in a different window, a new set of recommendations. Like, it wants you to keep going. So a lot of critics of all of this looking around are saying we have this problem of losing that sense, this kind of sense that was enforced on us or on past generations, the kind of thing that led us to watch the TV Guide channel, which just lists what else is showing on the other channels. You have a kind of enforced quiet and calm to collect your thoughts or even to be bored. I guess what I'm driving at is a lot of people are noticing this now. Like, hey, maybe it's a problem that so much of our society and the way technology plays into this is driven towards just constant motion forward. And as it turns out, there could be a long-standing, what's the term, a countermeasure, something that, why is the word eluding me? Something that it runs counter in RPGs, or this, and especially in this kind of turn-based system, to that whole thing. Like, you are forced to slow down, think about the game, absorb the atmosphere a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to disparage game. I mean, like, I love Mega Man, and I know you do, Joseph.
Oh, yes.
Helene usually is
It's
like
fun.
hiding her eyes.
Yeah, like, you know, in the right kind of spirit, that kind of thing is fun.
Yeah.
I'm not disparaging it either.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that when you're when you're watching Mega Man, it can be very anxiety inducing.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, are you going to fall into that pit? Yes, you did.
I knew it.
But there is something really calming about a turn-based RPG that does give you that space.
Yes.
I think that for me, a lot of the emotional and even spiritual experiences that I had for or during games were because I was forced to wait every once in a while. Loading screens are not the same thing. Loading screens are the bane of existence.
I mean, they
Those are frustrating.
they're probably doing good.
Flow, you know, these that interrupt the flow.
Yeah. Although, you know, that's probably a good bit of enforced waiting as well, but I can see why people don't like them. I just think it's kind of interesting. Yeah, like this is as more and more people notice that the constant drive towards stimulation and forward progression is kind of out of control. This is a lovely thing and a long-standing thing. It's not like a new thing that, you know, I like the thought of somebody thinking that, of like discovering RPGs and saying, hey, video game designers have come up with a new way to like slow down the game. And like, no, it's just always been there.
Yeah.
It's just a part of it. I remember, you know, I'm thinking about those kind of fast action games, which are fun, you know, like I'm also not wanting to disparage them. Sometimes I take a break from working at the computer by pulling up a website where you can play Asteroids, you know, the old arcade game, which is great because I don't know why I consider this taking a break, but it's kind of stimulating because the asteroids are floating around the screen and, you know, the background sound is meant to simulate a heartbeat. And so it gets faster as the asteroids start coming faster. It's like boom, 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 boom. So that's fun. It's fun. It's very tense and fun. But you know, it's not a slow game. But I was always interested in also game designers who made games that have that kind of rapid fire hyper stimulation, but then introduced elements of the game like interludes that are kind of slow and quiet. I remember the makers of Donkey Kong Country, the SNES game from the 90s, how they said once in an interview that they, you know, Donkey Kong Country is a game that's just like full of things like jump in this barrel and it's going to launch you at another place, but you have to time it exactly right so that you fly through the air and land in another barrel and it spins you around and time it just right as you blast through the air to another barrel, like all these kind of things. But they said they put in every so often there's a level that's underwater and it's got this sort of peaceful music and it moves a little slower. Like he just swims around collecting bananas. I don't know why there are bananas underwater, but
because they were stolen by King Croc.
Well, yes, they were. But well, I guess, right. You're right. That's why they're there. I guess the question I should be asking is why does he still want them when they've been floating in the water?
He doesn't seem very picky.
You know, you're right. Donkey Kong's not very discerning.
I'm just glad they're still yellow.
That's right. That's all he cares. It looks fine to him. So they, you know, I think, and the music would, in those levels was very calm and peaceful. And I remember the makers said they didn't want the game to be constant hyper stimulation and fast action. They wanted to give these interludes of peace and calm, which I think is kind of neat. It's almost like that's maybe a smart, medium there, or smart, middle ground.
Yeah, there's a great game, and Clair Obscur does this too. But I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 does this really, really well, where every once in a while you have a camp scene and you kind of see the characters set up around a campfire, almost like they're on stage. So you know, you don't usually see the back of their heads or something, and they're all doing something. They're teasing each other, or you know, playing the flute, or which is an important part of the game. And the music is really calm and easy and quiet. Whereas normally you're running around, you know, all of these huge areas fighting these huge monsters and, you know, trying to figure out whether you can take on this thing that's 10 levels above you and knowing that you can't, going for it anyway. But then there's these times of just this calm easiness. And I remember reading a reviewer saying that's what helps you fall in love with the characters. Because normally what you see is the backs of the heads of these characters running away from you. And then suddenly here are these characters who are sitting around with you as if you're in this group. because you're not looking at it from above or from behind someone's back, but you're looking at it as if you're included in this group. And the things that you do are things like, you can level up your characters, you can create, you can craft items, you can rest, all these different things that aren't a huge part of the games, but they're an important part of the games.
Yes.
That's that time of break, that time of taking a break. Clair Obscur does this too, where you're at a campfire, and this is when you can kind of interact with the characters and grow an affinity towards them.
Yes. Right.
And you can also level up your weapons and items and other aspects of the game too.
Also handy. Yeah. Yeah. This is the humanizing element. This is the making the world come alive.
And I think that for me, for why it was so spiritual and why actually I was drawn to the liturgy as a young adult was because the liturgy has all of these kind of things in it. There are times where there are these pauses or these intentional times where someone has to walk back to their seat or walk up to the podium or whatnot. There's nothing going on. There's no music playing. All you're doing is waiting for the person to get up there. And I put in, when I'm presiding, I put in pauses like between the second reading and the gospel reading. I put in a pause. I usually say an Hail Mary in my head and then kind of stand up when we move towards it.
Nice.
There's certain places in the Eucharistic prayer where you're encouraged to have silence and to stop and to let things just hang there.
Ooh, yeah.
And it allows people, one, to meditate on these things, but also for their spiritual imagination to kind of just fill that space and to open up. And sometimes people tell me that I've been thinking about this, or my mind went off on this other directions. But people say sometimes like, yeah, I'm just meditating.
Yeah.
There. And how cool to do that. Like, when do we get to meditate with a group of people in a room these days?
Yeah. Right. Right. That is excellent. And how good it is for the soul, right? How nourishing these times of quiet and contemplation are.
And it's nice to open up this space, like whether it's in a video game or, a liturgy at church, because it kind of acknowledges that the individuals are processing things individually, but also in a group space together, like you've just taken a lot in, whether it's in the video game or a reading or a sermon or music or something like that. And you just need to sit with it and that can like look different inside someone's head, than the person next to them, but that they both need the space to kind of come out of the group, come back to being an individual and then re-enter the group again. Like it's kind of back and forth thing. I think you need that room.
You do.
So that it's not just you go home and become the individual, but you need to do it in that. Yeah.
Right. Because there will be that forward motion. Like, you won't get to stay in that moment forever. But since there will come that moment where you are entering out into the world again, or you are doing the things you need to do, how much better if you do that, having some buffers, some interludes of meditation, contemplation, and doing so with others. Yeah.
We just played our tabletop role-playing game Mage last Friday, and we were really trying to figure out something to do, and you could see on the DM's face that we were just like, we were nowhere near where he wanted us to be.
We missed something.
We missed something. And there are a bunch of times when we just stopped and we're all thinking at the same time. And that was just so nice to just be like thinking about the same thing together in a group and trying to figure stuff out. Not, brainstorming together is really, really fun. Like, we can do this, we can do that. We had a brainstorming session during one time when I was the GM, and the players ended up creating a pocket dimension using magic. And now they have access to this like timeless space would use magic to their will. And that came out of a brainstorming session.
Yeah.
Together. But these times when it's like, well, we don't know what to do, so let's just think about it instead of just moving to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing.
Right. Because great unexpected things like having access, what did you say, to another dimension? Great things.
That's it.
It's called the Horizon Realm.
Okay, yes. Like having access to a horizon, come from, and the application outside of that, in life is all kinds of wonderful serendipitous things come to us in relationships, in ideas, funny moments come out of the times of quiet and still where you're not just moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
it's an amazing part of games. And I think that a lot of people who don't play games don't understand that part of them, these kind of pauses. And with more actiony games, sorry, I'm keep on talking about Mega Man. For some reason, that's just on my mind. But there are times where, you've selected a robot boss and there's probably covering a loading screen, but you see the robot master jump out.
That's true. Yes, all right. And you're like, I'm in for it, right?
I'm in for it now. And then in Clair Obscur, they do something where you have to dodge or parry or jump away from an attack. You don't just stand there and take it. And the way you tell when an attack is coming is there's this little, the monster swings his giant club, and there's a little time where it moves a little bit more slowly. And then that's when you kind of press the button to dodge out of the way. Or you have an attack and you're slashing your sword at this monster, and then the person pulls back for a few seconds and then stabs really hard for a big hit. There are these times of pausing. It's almost like a musical beat.
Yeah.
Where you as a player are brought more fully into. I was going to write an article about Lord of the Rings about this too, where Aragorn, when he first sees Rohan, he is caught, his breath is almost caught in his throat for love of it. And then he sings this song, but the paragraph before it is all full of semicolon sentences. And I think it's this kind of almost like ramping up of Aragorn's emotions, and the grammar of the paragraph allows the reader to do the same thing, to ramp up so that when he sings his song, you're almost singing there with him.
Yeah, right. You're invited into it.
Yeah, which is what games are. You're invited into this story to play a part in that story.
Yes, right. Absolutely. That is, I think that is something, if one is looking for a defensive video games from, like you say, people who don't play, I think what they fear, and I can imagine where that fear comes from, and I can imagine cases where the fear has been justified. I think what people fear, though, is that that's what you're doing, is you're sort of mindlessly giving yourself over to a lot of stimulation and action. And what I think is not really appreciated or understood so well is that there is this kind of rhythm, and even in this, the Mega Man is a great example, even in something like that's relatively action packed, there is these kind of moments of pause, even if it's nothing more than introducing the robot master with the sinister music, and it's gonna last a couple of seconds. You can't just rush right into the stage. There are lots of opportunities in video games for longer or shorter kind of pauses, where you are being drawn in and entering into this world.
I've been thinking about something similar recently. Was it Wagner who said that opera is the highest form of art? Who was it who said?
Oh yes, this was very controversial.
Right. Because it had storytelling, it had acting, it had art, with the costumes and stuff, but also had music.
Right.
Well, video games are also, it's all of those together if it's a storytelling video game and it's interactive. So video games are higher than opera.
This puts anyone who has accepted Wagner's premise, puts them in a position where they may not be able to.
No, I'm
back out of this, right?
You're righter than Wagner.
I'm righter than Wagner. Right.
In a number of ways. We'll just put it that way. He had some opinions.
That's right. In a number of ways you are. I support that claim.
And it's not all video games, like Tetris, maybe not as much. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll have to think about that. But, the ones that really work in story and really want you to enter into the world, even Mega Man, you're entering into that world.
They are a wonderful fusion of music, art in the visual sense, storytelling, right, and immersive. Like reading a book. Yeah, it's just what a wonderful art form it is.
So if you have any listeners, if you have any question, or if you're ever asked about, our video games art, you can remind them of Wagner.
Just go ahead and, shorten the argument to, well, you could say, I could get into a lot of the details here, but just the long and short of it is Wagner says yes. Theories support this. I mean, as far as I know from music history, his idea was very, very controversial, but We don't have to talk about that. Let's
Yeah,
say,
no,
yes.
I'm sure many people were had opinions. I mean,
Oh, no, as long as you cite your source, it's okay.
Right, cite your source. I mean, given some of Wagner's reputation,
Yeah.
you might not want to draw him out in your defense of video games. Just say that Helene says,
He
yes,
says,
the video games there are, and they can say
I am
Helene,
authority.
and you say Helene Hannon, and just let them say, I'm supposed to know who that is. You don't explain. You just say Helene Hannon says yes.
Yes.
you might not know this, listeners. Actually, most of you probably don't know this, but that Joseph is referencing a long story long ago that we're going to tell a different time because we are out of time.
The story that I referenced, so mysterious.
Yes, what would have been? I was on the hot seat.
You were on the hot seat.
But we
One day
are
the story of you being on the hot seat will be told and what you said.
This sounds okay. So he was defending his thesis.
Yeah,
It wasn't like he was on the witness stand or anything.
Tim had been accused of murdering me, and no,
As you can see, it's not.
it was definitely false. Yes, Tim was defending his thesis, and he used
Okay, that's enough.
He used that line of argument. The Helene Hannon said so, but it wasn't Helene that he
It
cited.
was Joseph.
It was me.
And one of my major professors said, "Who's Joseph?" And the other professor said, "Joseph Leak."
Right.
As if my
You're
major
supposed to
professor
know.
would know who that was.
Somehow we told the story anyway.
Yeah, I was on told somehow.
Somehow.
With that, we will end. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
I hope you continue to listen. And the last thing I have to say is, Kyle, stop goofing off and get back to work.
Whoa, Kyle, better listen.
Dude.
See you.
Old man. So close to retirement.
That's true.